Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. I had to put on my reaching hat. Hear me out.
A missing man, a music festival, and a mysterious disappearance.
The Electric Forest Music Festival.
His girlfriend calls, says, I can't find Kevin. I said, what do you mean you can't find Kevin? Apparently they got in some argument, and I think he saw something.
They were just picking on him, and they really got him upset, and she says he was crying.
Witnesses remember seeing buses at that festival connected to a cult.
The 12 Tribes presents itself as a harmless church, living in communes, singing, dancing and selling food through their cafes. But former members say behind closed doors they tear families apart and treat children like slaves.
They've also recruited through local markets and community events like the Newtown Festival, Woodford Folk Festival and the Royal Easter Show.
And they all want to be your friend, and they're all interested in you, and they did make a very amazing impression on us.
They don't tell you everything. They only tell you what they think you need to hear to join.
Thank you for clicking. Today I want to talk about the Kevin Graves case. It's really interesting because there are two main theories about where he could be. The first one is that he wants to be missing, and the second one is that he's actually in grave danger. No pun intended. I'm sorry. No. So as usual, I'm going to give you guys the facts. We are to talk about the theories a little bit, and then you can decide for yourself. But before I begin, I have to give my thanks to my returning subscribers, old and new. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciated your kind comments on my last video, and I try really hard to give you guys content that you like, so I really appreciate that. And if you are new here, hi, this is me. I wear a tinfoil hat. I don't know why I did that. I wear a tinfoil hat and I talk about true crime and conspiracies, particularly where the two intersect. That's kind of my thing. So with all that being said, let's dive in. It all started at a music festival in Rothbury, Michigan. Now, this music festival is called the Electric Forest, and it's your typical music festival in the sense that there's music and partying and nature and partying, you know, like mind-altering substances. So the festival was actually a few days long, and it was on the last day that Kevin got into a fight with his girlfriend Kayla. Witnesses say that it was really bad. There were like other girls, her friends, that were there too, and they were all like ragging on him to the point where he started crying, and then he left and said that he was going to his tent. So a nearby camper saw Kevin crying, and she said that she thought about inviting him to her campsite, but she ended up not doing that, and she says that she lives to regret that because Kevin vanished after that. So a few days earlier, Kevin and his girlfriend Kayla, they drove 200 miles from where they live, which is Highland Township, Michigan, to Rothbury, where the festival was. Kevin was a 28-year-old mechanic, and he lived with his girlfriend Kayla and her two kids. They didn't just go alone, they went with their friends, and those were the friends that were there when he walked off. And then a few hours later, when Kayla went back to the tent, that's when she realized that Kevin wasn't there. So she went to her friends and they started looking for him for hours. When they realized that he wasn't anywhere to be found, they had to file a missing persons report, and that's when Kayla called Kevin's mom. And she said, I can't find Kevin. And that's when the whole thing kind of started. So according to Kayla, Kevin had been acting odd for a few days leading up to this day. She said that he was paranoid, and he was accusing her of like snitching on him to the FBI. Then he accused her of cheating on him with somebody else who was at the festival. And she claims that, you know, this could have contributed to what happened to him. Now, it is important to note that Kevin struggled with depression and bipolar disorder, and his sister says that he was supposed to be on medication, but he had stopped taking his medication because it made him lethargic, which is similar to the Catherine Hoggle case, which I did. It seems like this is really sad, but it seems like these medications make people feel lethargic, and that kind of makes them not want to take the meds, which, you know, it's just sad all around, but that's a side note. Now, also, it is my conspiracy, allegedly, don't sue me, but I think that Kevin also could have been under the influence because, you know, that's very common in these festivals. I've been to Coachella once, and, you know, I'm not gonna say everybody was on one, but like most people were on several, okay? So it's not like weird or out of the ordinary for people to be, you know, high at these festivals, okay? And I think, again, my conspiracy, that Kevin may have been under the influence when he cried and stormed off and disappeared. So of course, when he went missing, you know, everybody panicked, and Kayla says that, you know, she searched the tent and all she found were a few of his personal belongings, but that his phone and his wallet were not there. So my first thought when I heard about this was, you know, could they find the cell phone to, you know, ping if he had the phone on him? Could they find the pings and locate him that way? And that's when I heard a weird thing. I found this referenced in the Web Sleuth forum, and they said that they heard this on a podcast called The Vanished Podcast. Let me read you a quote. From The Vanished Podcast, his sister seemed to say his phone was in his now ex-girlfriend's mother's name, and that they would not give out his phone records to the sister as they want nothing more to do with the Graves family. I would think the mother could have given permission to the police to check the phone records without a warrant being needed if the phone was in her name. But that family seems to be done with the Graves and the investigation, so it seems unlikely there will be any more info released from that end. Which is so weird. Why wouldn't Kayla's mother want to like share the phone records to help locate him, especially if his daughter was if her daughter, was the last person to be seen with him? You would think she would kind of want to exonerate her, right? Unless, strange. So there was some activity that they were able to trace, and it happened right after Kevin stormed off, and that was that he withdrew $200 from an ATM using a joint bank account that Kayla and him shared. That's how they're able to find out. So he withdrew the money, he had his cell phone with him, and that's all they know. I wasn't able to find out whether, you know, he withdrew it willingly or he was under duress when he withdrew the money. There's no way of knowing that. So I'll just put that out there. The family started a Facebook page called Help Us Find Kevin Graves. And in there they put some descriptive information about him, like that he was 28 years old, had sandy blonde hair and blue eyes. He was about 6 feet tall, 185 pounds. They mentioned that he had a USMC tattoo on his left shoulder and an Aquarius sign on his right forearm. So at this point, a major search ensues.
Local 4 Defender cameras were there on a recent Saturday morning search of the forest in Rothbury.
If you find something, don't start screaming and running to it.
Gone, seemingly without a trace.
I think he's out there somewhere, but I don't know where. We got to find him.
It's very sparse. There's not many trees there.
Graves is also working with Shiawassee Search and Rescue. The agency has conducted more than 60 searches, 7 lakes, 3 rivers, 14 miles of M31, 3,000 acres of woodland, including the place where the music festival is held.
Everybody liked Kevin. He had a big heart.
Who would want him dead?
These are the other 2 people he was with.
The family says they've had no help from the Electric Forest organizers, and law enforcement haven't been able to find any sign of him.
Keep him on the media until we find him. That's, you know, we ain't giving up on this.
Days after Kevin went missing, there were some supposed potential sightings of him. The first came from a woman who claimed to see him, or someone who fit his description, at a nearby Mexican restaurant. It was just 15 minutes away from the festival, and they said that he was panhandling and he looked dirty and he was wearing tan shorts, and they also said that he was on the phone arguing with somebody. She also said that this person appeared to be under the influence. Then another person who worked at the restaurant also says that they saw someone fitting that same description, and that this person was using the payphone for an hour. Or no, sorry, for half an hour. Authorities also discovered that one of Kevin's friends was staying at a hotel room near that restaurant that night. Even weirder is that when the police went to that room, they found a pair of tan shorts outside of that door of the hotel. But when authorities tried to contact the friend, they weren't answering their phone. And then it just kind of dies after that. They don't seem to have followed up, or if they did, I don't know about it. I couldn't find out what happened to the friend that was in the hotel room with the shorts. Like, it's weird. Was that friend with him, or was the friend mistaken for Kevin? I'm not quite sure because I couldn't find out the gender of the friend. So I don't know, but super weird. And it only gets weirder because people started coming forward and saying that they think Kevin joined a cult. Okay, there was about 100 tips called in to police from festival goers saying that there was a bus that belonged to a cult, and that bus would go to concerts and recruit people, and that they think that this cult recruited Kevin, and the cult is called the 12 Tribes. 12 Tribes are a fundamentalist group. They claim to have Christian beliefs and values. They live in communes across several continents, although they started in the 70s in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And they have very radical beliefs, but more on that later. They call themselves a sect, but other people call them a cult.
So you would call the 12 Tribes a cult?
I think you could use that word. I don't normally. I don't use that word. Sect is probably better, a little bit less emotional, but definitely high controlling, yeah, all that.
Would you call them a cult?
I'd certainly call them a cult.
So as I said, they were formed in the 70s, and they have a very unique recruiting tactic, and that is that double-decker bus called the Peacemaker. And they go to these festivals. They've been doing it since the 70s. They started at like the Grateful Dead, Fish, Bob Dylan concerts, but now they're at these new age electronic festivals, and they offer cookies and hot chocolate and sometimes even first aid, and they're super friendly, super nice, and they just kind of invite you in, and they don't kidnap you per se, but a lot of times the people that they target are under the influence, very vulnerable. Sometimes they're having a bad trip, and then you have these people that are like, come here, have a cookie, come join us. There are lots of first-hand accounts, news articles, news programs about this group.
Hello.
Hi, hon. It was an invitation we simply couldn't refuse. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you for making the journey.
A one-on-one with one of the two men responsible for setting up the 12 Tribes here in Australia. The cult accused of beating their children and restricting access to proper medical care.
It's a whack, whack, whack. It's just enough to get their attention, really.
The 12 Tribes began in the United States, in Chattanooga, Tennessee in the 1970s, when former high school teacher and carnival showman Eugene Spriggs decided to quit teaching and start talking directly to God.
God-given right.
He created the 12 Tribes as a loose hybrid of Judaism and Christianity, and he preaches to his followers to live their lives by the First Testament.
The wicked are in authority, prohibiting good parents their God-given right to spank their children. Transgression increases.
Spriggs called himself Yonick and baptised his followers with Hebrew names. He's since expanded his communes, dancing and singing their way into 9 countries, including Japan, Germany, France, and right here in Australia. The group earns money through their cafes globally, called the Yellow Delis. The 12 Tribes live in communities, handing over all their possessions and all their money when they join.
No one earns a wage from working in the cafe. Would I be correct in saying that?
Correct, absolutely correct. There's no wages going on at all. I mean, WorkCover had a devil of a time trying to work with us because we're all bosses. There are no employees because there are no wages. Things like that, like the ATO, applying for tax-exempt status. I did it in New Zealand, I did it here. The advancement of religion is one of the 4 heads of charity. So, on that argument...
No tax?
No tax.
But it's their treatment of children that has sparked international headlines.
How old are you? You tell her. 10.
This hidden camera investigation aired on US television in 2018, filming young children of the 12 tribes being forced to work on their farms and on factory assembly lines.
Factories? We don't have factories.
We have videotape of it, sir.
In 2013, a police raid removed 40 children from a 12 tribes compound in Germany after undercover footage captured repeated physical punishment of a number of children.
Young babies wriggling while you're changing their nappies, you need to spank them to keep them still. You've got to start at 6 months, and it's in their child training manuals. It's written by them. It's in black and white.
When people hear of discipline, they often have a negative image in their mind.
This is a video currently available on the 12 Tribes website, an instruction manual on how to beat your child.
But I am going to discipline you for not being a faithful son.
It's called When the Spanking Stopped, All Hell Broke Loose.
So if you search for them online, you find tons of stuff. So I found a Reddit post of somebody who claims to be like a defector from the 12 tribes. So remember that double-decker Peacemaker bus I told you about? Well, on the back it says, "We know the way, we'll bring you home," which is a reference to a lyric from the Grateful Dead song Ripple that says, quote, "If I knew the way, I would take you home." So they're like, you know, we know, come hither. They're very welcoming. They have a banner at the front of their bus that says, "Welcome, please come in." One of the things that happens when you join 12 tribes is that you give them all your money because, you know, it's a commune, so it's like a community pot. And so you give them everything, and supposedly, you know, you shall be provided for in terms of food and shelter, although they say that they really ration your food and you don't get much. So as if things couldn't get weirder, a month after Kevin disappeared, Kayla, the ex-girlfriend, cut off all communication with his family. Kayla's father was at the concert too. In addition to that, Kayla's father says that Kevin was planning on disappearing after the festival, and that when he spoke to him, he felt like Kevin was insinuating that he was not coming back. You know, interesting. So while I was researching a little bit more into Kayla, I found really bad comments. A lot of people are saying really negative things, and it seemed like it had to do at first like with this tattoo that she had that said "continue," and some people felt like, you know, it was heartless, and, you know, how could she move on and he's still missing and blah blah blah. And, you know, I don't want to make any judgments on that because everybody has their own way of grieving, and who's to say when you should move on, and, you know, I'm not going to touch that. And on top of that, there were more allegations and stuff, and so I wanted to look into what they were accusing her of, and I couldn't find anything other than those comments. So I thought about including them, but I'm not going to, because if Kayla had nothing to do with this and she's dealing with it in her own way, the last thing she needs is some chick, okay, in a tinfoil hat on YouTube that thinks she knows what's what and is like repeating gossip and rumors and stuff, okay? She was there, I was not. You know, this is, I'm for entertainment purposes only, obviously, and I'm trying to be informative, so, you know, I have to draw the line somewhere, and this is where I'm drawing the line. The 12 tribes, on the other hand, to me are a fair game because of what I found out about them, and it's not a rumor. It's, a lot of it has been substantiated, and it is so disturbing. So like I said, right, they have many locations across several continents, and they do happen to have a location or a branch, whatever you want to call it, in Michigan, not too far from where Kevin went missing. In addition to the bus that they have, that they go to concerts and recruit with, they also have these cafes, and they create goods like soaps and, you know, granola and stuff. And, you know, when you go in there, a lot of people have no idea that this is run by 12 tribes. If you would go into these cafes, you would think it's your typical, you know, hippie, organic, local, sustainable cafe. And they sort of try to recruit the customers as well. They ask a lot of questions. They're very friendly, very warm. Then they'll invite you to like some gathering, and you know, they try to ask you where you're from, how close you are to your family, and the whole point is to see how isolated you are from your family or social group, and that makes you a prime target. The more isolated you are, the easier you know, they can convince you to give them your money and come live with them. Oh, and by the way, once you are part of the commune, you work at these cafes for free. So speaking of first-hand accounts, there was someone who interacted with the 12 tribes at a Grateful Dead concert, and this is what they had to say. Quote, "I viewed their seemingly predatory behavior as a vile cancer on the scene. The operation seemed like a bear trap set in otherwise peaceful woods, a trap designed to ensnare those in vulnerable psychological states." And so, you know, I wanted to find more first-hand accounts of people who go to these festivals, who interact with 12 tribes. And some people said, oh, it's not that bad. They don't force you to go there. And there was one guy who's, I don't know, I liked him. He had good vibes, and he was at the commune, and this is his first-hand account of his experience there.
What up, y'all? So, your boy is in a commune right now. That's right. That's right. Oh, there's the big prayer tent there. It's called 12 Tribes. They are a really Christian commune here. They kind of live like Mennonites, man. They have like farmers markets and shit. And yo, these guys work, man. These guys work real hard. I was working in the bakery with them yesterday. We did like 200 loaves of bread. We did a big fish fry. It was really cool, man. Yeah, they got those little 3 huts down there. They actually built those just for the hikers that come through, man. I mean, it's not my thing. I certainly won't be joining, that's for sure. But there's something to it, man. There's some really good people here. And dude, the kids here. Oh my God, the kids here. Best kids, probably the best kids I've ever met, man. They are incredible. They're super smart. They work their asses off, and they have fun the whole time they do it, man. They're inquisitive, like with all the hikers, because this is really all they know. Like they're like 11-year-old boy, born and raised here. You know, he's asking me questions about like New York City and stuff, and I wasn't really sure how much of those questions I could answer without being disrespectful. You know what I mean? But it's like some kind of community where when you join, if you got money, it all goes into the pot. It's a community, it's a commune, like I said. Which makes me wonder, if I were to join, would they absorb my student loans? Would they absorb my credit card debt? I don't know. Questions abound. But
you know how like he was talking about how good the kids were and stuff? There was a comment under that video which was like, dude, the kids are so well behaved because they're getting beat. And it seems like he maybe misinterpreted what he was seeing. I mean, it is not up for discussion that they hit the kids in a very insane and like ridiculous way, like 6 months, spanking 6 months for babies wriggling and stuff like that, hitting the kids 20 to 30 times a day. And then there was this other video that I found of 2 girls who were part of 12 Tribes who were working at the cafe, working for free, and they seemed to like it.
I don't know if you're familiar with the Bible at all, but like what it talks about in Acts, how like the early church, they all lived together and they shared everything and they worked together, they shared their income. Like that's how we pattern our lives. I do a lot of baking and I cook some meals, and the men go out to work every day, like on jobs, and so we make lunches and send it with them. We do that. And then there's always children, covering children, but probably most of the time I'm working in there or baking for in there. And then of course there's always like the daily upkeep of cleaning the house and that kind of stuff. So we usually stay pretty busy doing all that.
I was not religious at all. I didn't really think anything. Like I believed in God, but I didn't like try and make it any deeper than that. For our clothes, it's mostly about modesty. Like, I don't want to wear skin-tight clothes because we all live so close. So, like, it's kind of, I don't know. It wouldn't really work out if we walked around in, like, crop tops. And, yeah, I wore tight clothes and crop tops and makeup and
yeah, I guess that's our main
Snapchat and Instagram, Facebook, all of it.
That's our main goal, is modesty. It's not like we're trying to dress weird or like abstract, but it's mainly just to be modest.
And they even showed a little bit of the bus, and it just they were vibes and that I got, and they were creepy vibes. Okay, so just again, my conspiracy, allegedly, don't sue me, please. So more controversy about 12 Tribes is this bakery that they had in Massachusetts, and it was, the community loved this bakery. It was, you know, again, organic and, you know, great stuff and all that, but they had a Facebook page, and there were some weird posts on the Facebook page. Basically, they were endorsing slavery of Black people. We have decided to use our Facebook page as an active evangelism tool. As promised, let's talk about the Blacks. First of all, you know nothing good is gonna come after somebody says the Blacks. Okay, so it says, one of the most frequent questions we get is, are you racist? The answer is no, but we do believe that slavery is necessary. There's a difference. There's more. There's more. What a marvelous opportunity that Blacks could be brought over here to be slaves so that they could be found worthy of the nations. How dare you? A good master would work by the sweat of his brow. If his slaves were lazy and disrespectful, he would beat them, which is what he was supposed to do. Also, when I was looking at, when I was looking for footage and stuff of 12 Tribes, I found like propaganda like from them that they were posting, and I noticed that they were Black kids and a few families, sparse. Come to find out, there's a reason, there's a little loophole there, and let me tell you what they think. It's crazy. Unless a Black person is in the community, they need to serve white people. It's so racist, it will blow your mind. But then there's more. So there's a website called Question 12 Tribes, and it's basically people talking about their horrible experiences with 12 tribes. And this is a very interesting post I want to read to you because it's very reminiscent to what concert goers say they think happened to Kevin. August 4th, 2010. So we get on the bus and I get some really good hot cocoa and they clean my lip. To be honest, it's all kind of a blur. What I do remember is grabbing a back seat with Neil Hoff and Sarah to, quote, talk about stuff, life stuff. Now, I live a sheltered 16-year-old suburban Vermont white kid life. We passed the McDonald's in Albany on the way to their bus and they criticized the triple patty burger they had on sale. I was shocked as I had been wondering about how good it would be. So we're in the back seat talking about life and they start talking about how good of a soul they think I am. How it doesn't matter that I'm alone, bloody, and missing a, quote, rock concert. I was alive and they loved me and God. God so loved me, in fact, that I should leave my family, leave my girlfriend, and leave Albany in their bus. God wanted me to go to Boston and live in their house, make beeswax candles, and share my possessions. This struck me as odd, and the pressure was intense. It also struck me that I should get out of there, but they kept going on. In fact, it went on like an hour and a half until the end of the show. I felt so special, so in need to join them and free myself of the prison that my family and society had constructed. I find this post so interesting because think about Kevin Graves' situation. If he in fact did go on this bus and they did the same thing, what everybody says they do, think about it, right? He just had a fight with his girlfriend. He's off his meds. He's probably, maybe, potentially on other things. and he's crying, right? They were like bragging on him to the point where he's crying, and he's on one, and he feels like completely lost and upset. And now you have these group of people that are like, no, you're special and God loves you, you should leave them, come with us, come on, give us your money. Then I started thinking, okay, was the Peacemaker bus really there? Because the police were not able to prove if the bus was there or not. People were saying the bus was there. So was the bus really there? So when I was Googling, again, all I could find was a Reddit post, and somebody had actually asked, was the bus there? And some people said they didn't see it. Some people said they could have seen it. And again, they couldn't, we didn't know. There's no definitive answer, is what I was trying to say. But then I fell down the rabbit hole of Reddit posts about 12 tribes. 12 tribes. Like, what's wrong with me? I can't talk today. I've had 2 coffees, and so I think that, like, it's 2 coffees. 12 tribes communities, a warning. Advice. So mainly in the Northeast, but also in Tennessee, Georgia, and even Europe, there's like this group, they call themselves the 12 tribes. They are really, really like freakishly nice to travelers and recruit them for the communities. Basically, they invited you back to the compound and make it increasingly harder and harder to leave. Nobody is ever forcing you, but the promise of food for the day, weed to smoke, even though I came to find out that is just something to keep people around. None of the people in the church actually smoke pot. And a little bit of cash is enough sometimes to deal with the weirdness. But then things get weirder. I've had friends tell me that they are offered people's daughters as wives. In most places where they have a community, they also have a deli, coffee shop, something like that. At these restaurants, the wives do all the cooking, cleaning, and general work, while the husbands are talking to customers and recruiting. They have zines that are directed at punk youth, which Bad Brains, the Misfits, and the Black Flag logos on the front, but you open it up and it's all about their effing weird religion. I just want to put a warning out there for people who don't know who they are. I sure as shit didn't until we got to Vermont, and these dudes were everywhere. Eat the food they give you, go to the delis and hang out or whatever, but do your research too. These guys are effing wacky. By this point, it was all over the news, all over the media that Kevin may have joined this cult, and everybody was talking about 12 tribes and everything wrong with 12 tribes. And so they had to do some damage control. A member of 12 tribes reached out to Kevin's sister, told Kevin's sister that they did not have a bus at Electric Forest. Kevin was not at Electric Forest. They don't know him. They never met him. I mean, not Kevin was not Electric Forest. Kevin was not with them. They don't know him. And they also said that, we don't keep people hostage. When they come, they can leave whenever they want. And Kevin's sister was kind of not sure. She said the guy was very, very nice, very polite. And again, as we know, that's their tactic. They're freakishly nice. And so that kind of was the end of that. She said that she was still going to look into it and call around, and that she didn't completely write off the theory that he was, with this cult, but at the same time, they didn't really have any proof that he was. Now it's a year after Kevin went missing, and it's time for the next annual Electric Forest Festival. Everybody knows about what happened, and so this post goes viral on Facebook where people are warning festival goers not to get on the red bus. This is a post. It says, there's a picture of the bus, the Peacemaker, and it says, "Don't get on this bus. Friends going to Forest this weekend, don't get on the big red bus. I just read some disturbing stuff in a post in Tipper Fam. Seems like this group called 12 Tribes goes around to big festivals drugging/sedating people and taking them back to their compounds to work where they're never heard from again. Please be safe out there, fam. Use responsibly and always be alert and aware, especially at bigger fests like Forest. I love you all and would be devastated if anything ever happened to any of you. Remember, not everyone out there is your friend. Not everyone's intentions are pure. Some are disingenuous and some are straight up dangerous. Use the buddy system. Stay with your friends/fam. Never go off on your own, especially if you're spun. And most importantly, trust your instincts. If something feels off, get out of there immediately. That being said, I hope you all have an amazing weekend full of love and joy, and that none of you encounter anything like this. already posted this in my fam group, reposting here, so it's shareable. I recommend you share it to all your fam groups as well. Fam, family fam. Those are the facts. Now let's talk about the theories. There are two main theories here that we need to discuss. The first theory is that Kevin is alive. He wanted to go missing. We're all freaking out over nothing. He's a grown man. He decided to leave and he's doing his own thing. And the second theory is more depressing, and that is that maybe due to his mental illness, maybe he like OD'd or took his own life, or maybe somebody did something to him and that he's not alive. Me personally, I happen to believe the first theory, and that is that he did not want to be found, and I'll tell you why. Hear me out. The reason why I think this is quotes from the investigators, family, friends. This is what they all have to say about Kevin and the events leading up to his disappearance. First of all, I want to read you a quote from the investigator. Quote, "I have no evidence to support in any way that anything nefarious happened to him. My feeling is he walked away from there. His goal was to be part of the lore of that festival, of people who disappeared. He had discussed that while he was still in Highland Township prior to leaving the festival. What money he had, he drained pretty much all of his banks." Remember his girlfriend Kayla? Well, right after he disappeared, she had made a Facebook post, and this is what she wrote in the post. "He suffers from depression and bipolar disorder, and I think he had a manic episode or psychosis or something." And she believed that he had also left willingly and wanted to disappear. The most compelling thing, I think, is from his friend James, who was also at the festival. James said that he does not think that Kevin would go on the pacemaker bus or join the group because he was a self-proclaimed atheist, and so this Christian God thing would not have appealed to him. Furthermore, you know, he smoked weed and, you know, dabbled in things according to James, and they were very much against that. But as we read in that previous post I told you about, they would offer, you know, them weed and stuff, even though they didn't do it to keep them there. So that part I don't know, but the compelling thing I was talking about is actually that James said that Kevin was talking to him about wanting to go west and grow marijuana. He wanted to come to California or Washington, you know, the West Coast where it's legal, and he wanted to like live on a marijuana farm and grow marijuana. And, you know, yes, it is legal, but there still do exist illegal grows, right? And if he was participating in that, he would not want to be found, right? He would want to kind of just go off grid and live this life that he wanted to live away from everything. That I feel like seems a bit more believable in terms of like, you know, he was talking about it and maybe he got upset and he left and he was like, screw this, I'm getting some money, I'm gonna hitchhike, go on to the West Coast, gonna find a farm, grow, you know, maybe, but there's more. Let's talk about the text messages that Kevin sent his family the day he went missing or right before he went missing, because one thing about Kevin is he was extremely close to his family. He actually texted and spoke to different members of his family every day. So this is gonna factor in later with the second theory, but just humor me and let's listen to these texts. His father, Gary, said the last text he got from Kevin was on the day he went missing. Quote, "All it said was, 'Dad, I love you for your service. I love you, and someday I will pay you back everything I owe you.' That was the last thing I heard from him. I texted him back, and I never got any answers back." And this is now his mother texted him too. This is what she said. "I texted him. I was a little worried, and I said, 'Are you having a good time?' He texted me back with the word, 'Nothing, period.' So that got me a little concerned. And then I texted back, 'Are you okay?' 'Nothing,' is what he texted back. And that was it. From the text messages, it seems like he was kind of saying his goodbyes, like especially the text to his father. And then though the text to his mother is very strange and maybe indicates maybe his mental state wasn't, you know, all the way there, or maybe he was going through something very strange. But I think, you know, all these people saying that he was planning on leaving, you know, he had a plan to go out west. Either he did the marijuana farm thing, maybe he did join the cult. But that's the first theory. Now let's talk about the second theory, which is that he's not alive. The main driver behind this theory is what I mentioned earlier, which is the fact that Kevin is extremely close to his family and he would contact them every day. So if he did want to go missing or he did want to disappear, that's fine. But what they cannot reconcile is that he wouldn't at least find a way to tell them that he was okay. There are ways that he could contact them and not be traced. You know, he could use a payphone on his way. He could find a way to somehow communicate with them and be like, you know what? I'm fine. Don't worry about me. I've just got to go do my thing, but I'm okay. And the way that he loved them, the closeness he had with them, they just don't feel like he would put them through all this for years. It's 2020. He went missing in 2018, 2 years, and he did not reach out to them, not once. That's what they can't shake. Even his dad said,
the theory is I always felt that he just walked away, but it's come to the point where from everything we've been able to search and find out, we almost feel it's now a rescue.
His mother echoed the same sentiment, right? His mom said, you know, maybe he got a ride with somebody, but then it's for so long. For him not to be in contact is so out of character for him. His sister said the same thing. Quote, it's hard for us to believe because he's not the type of person to just up and disappear that way. The last text that he sent his sister was the day he went missing, the same thing as the way he texted his mom and his dad. And he said, quote, everything is good. I love you the most. Although it is very strange that he's not communicating with them, it did seem like he was telling them goodbye. And he wanted them to know that if they never heard from him again, that he loved them, right? The only thing was the way he responded to his mom when he was like, nothing, nothing. That's strange. But you know, he told his dad, thank you for everything. I will try to pay you back. I love you. He told his sister, I love you the most. So I don't know. Kind of seems like he's saying his goodbyes, but also very out of character. The whole thing is so strange. That's why I would love to know, what do you guys think happened to Kevin? Who do you think is responsible? If you think something strange happened, you know, what do you think about the girlfriend and her behavior? What do you think about the cult and what they're all about? Do you think that he could have done that? I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. And that's it. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye. Hi guys, I just had to pop in at the end of the video. Sorry, I'm feeling very festive. No, but I had to pop in at the end here because I forgot to mention this. This is a total side note. There was no time where it felt appropriate to talk about this, so I'm just putting it here at the end. If you made it this far, thank you. But there is a song that I found, because they like to sing and dance at the, you know, the 12 tribes. And there's a song that is so catchy. I was literally washing the dishes and I was singing it, and it's in the tribe of Joshua.
Servants of the vine, here be you are the strangest until the end of time. Servants of the vine,
stomp the grapes and drink the wine.
Let us take this vineyard until the end of time. The time of shouting of the hands of Judah, our Father sees us faithful, all we come together in praise. On the first fruits we offer what he's given us. We will wait and trust in him for the harvest. We will be one. We'll crush the leaven and the pride.
Stop the good, stop the great together till the end of time. In the time of Joshua,
in the time of Joshua, with Caleb and Joshua, our father's father, always led across the river Jordan. Came back with great fires.
was like washing the dishes, I have been editing as I was gathering all this footage. I like watched that video so many times. And I was washing the dishes, you know when you're like in the zone and it's quiet and then all of a sudden a thought pops up, and it was like, in the time of Joshua, and stomp the grapes and drink the wine until the end of time. So anyway, don't join the 12 tribes, okay? And stay safe. And if you go to a festival, have fun, but you know, don't get on that bus.